Where'd we play?
Welcome to the Golf Loons podcast, one course at a time in Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Where'd we play?
Hi, gang. Welcome back to the Golf Loons podcast. Thanks for hanging with us after a 1-week hiatus, our first ever break in the Golf Loons universe, I guess. Sometimes there's a lot going on, so we took one week off. We're back at it with a new golf course review today. We'll get into that, but first we want to thank our friends at Yellowbird Coffee, Twig.
Yeah, well, as far as the hiatus, it'll be about a 10-day. Usually, we're about every week we've been launching.
Every Monday.
Every Monday. So this week it'll be probably Wednesday or Thursday. So our apologies.
Okay.
Well, but
yeah. Okay.
that's okay. We want to do quality over quantity.
That's true.
But yeah, thanks to Yellowbird and of course, surprise, we played with owner GP today, and we'll talk about how Meadowbrook's special to our guests, but also to GP and to me. And JP, of course, as usual, is heading into the shop after a round, just to make sure things are running smoothly, but stop by the St. Paul location on Selby or the Northeast location, and they're going to treat you right, and you're going to get a great coffee.
Yeah.
Go Yellowbird.
Coffee, community,
Conversation, probably about hockey or golf or baseball.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to Yellowbird. Let's get into Meadowbrook. Meadowbrook, we were joined today by JP, but our special guest was Kevin Falness, a St. Louis Park native and a staple of anything St. Louis Park, whether it's Bunny's, Park Tavern, Meadowbrook, St. Louis Park Rec Center. He's been there many, many times. And so a special course for him. We'll get into that, but Meadowbrook's a special course for you too.
It is. And I was thinking about, like, if I made a list of like my top 5 or 7 kind of sentimental courses, this would be in it for sure. In high school, we played it all the time, and in college, and even after college. But we had a couple buddies, Joseph Holbert and Mike Kinnecker, who worked at Meadowbrook. And so we would play a lot of rounds with them, or 9 holes when they got off. They could get a cart for free. I played there with Joe Royce a handful of times. We skipped school. And there's a hill you have to hit over on the first hole, par 5, and we would sneak on after the hill, and we played sometimes on a school day. In the morning, we would get 9 or 12 holes in, and then head back for the afternoon. But a lot of really great rounds and memories. And Hulbert used to have the Muni Open, which I might mention too. We had 50 or 60 guys there a number of times for some really fun events too. So it's a really near and dear course for me.
Yeah. Does Roy, your dad, does he listen to the Golf Loons?
He does.
He does. Okay. So will he just be learning now that you were skipping school?
He will be. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be shocked that I did something like that. And I was telling you earlier, there is not a course anywhere that I played more shirtless than Meadowbrook. I would not do that now. I don't really. I haven't had a shirt off a lot since the 90s. Let's just be honest. But, yeah, in high school, we would, if it was hot, like it's 62 and sunny in high school, like shirts coming out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would do that too. And they let you do it. And
really, they didn't care.
Not that I remember.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that I remember playing shirtless.
They probably saw you, Twig, and just, we can't make that guy put it. That would be a crime to make him put his shirt back on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Turning heads.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, so if you play this course, I mean, I think it's in your top 5 courses you played too, right? Is that what you said?
For number of rounds. Yeah.
Number of rounds?
For number of rounds.
So the Twigs Gimme segment should just be automatic for you, right? Like this will come absolutely natural to you.
Pretty natural. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Know it pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let's do it. Let's get into Twigs Gimmies.
See?
Oh, too bad. Pick it up. All right, Twig. Well, this will be good, and I'm glad it's you, not me. This was only my second time playing Meadowbrook. I think I played it 5 or 6 years ago, and I hardly remembered anything from that round. So, I'm excited to go through this course with you because you know it like the back of your hand. So let's start off, and we should point out we're going to start off on 1, even though today we teed off first off 10. So we're going to have to recalibrate here a little bit, or I will. I think you've got it down anyway, though. So let's start with number 1, par 5.
Well, yeah, though, yeah, to your point, the last 3 times I've played it, we've teed off the back.
Okay.
And I asked the guy today, is like, do you just send guys off the back? No, I said, no, it's on a day when we have league. So they must maybe alternate 9s or something. It has something to do with that.
Okay.
And it was hard because the first 2 tee shots were into the sun. But okay, so starting with number 1, par 5, you tee off right by the clubhouse. It's a tricky par 5. I think it's a really good hole. It's a pretty tight tee shot. If you can get your drive to the top of the hill and or over it in the fairway, second shot's a lot easier because that won't be blind. If you don't, it's a blind second shot where you're hitting kind of over this hill, and then it goes downhill a lot. And then they had flooding a number of years ago, and they redid the drainage and they added a few ponds. Number 1 was a hole that they added a kind of a little water hazard that comes into play really well in the second shot. So if you're going to lay up, you need to know, okay, your distance, because it's a really tight layup, and you need to know if you hit a pretty good drive over the top of the hill, you can hit it past the water hazard, no problem. But if you don't, like I hit a horrible drive today, so I was punching out through some trees, and I had to make sure that I kept it short of the water hazard, which kind of comes and starts creeping in about 140 yards from the green. Yeah. The third shot is uphill. The green is uphill, which is a theme at Meadowbrook. There's a lot of uphill and downhill, a lot of uphill approaches, and it's a tricky green. There's some hard greens at Meadowbrook, and I like how it sits up at the top of the hill. If on your approach shot, most people are going to have be hitting a third. They're going to be laying up. I usually add about 15 to 20 yards on the approach uphill, and anything on the green is good. I wouldn't worry too much about where the pin is if you can just get it on the green. Yeah. And par is a good score. It's a par 5, but it's one that doesn't yield a lot of birdies.
Okay. I'm glad I could find that drainage pond that they did in there, just so it was put to good use.
That's right. Got it waiting for you.
Yeah. So, all right. So then we switch to number 2 and go to a downhill par 3.
Yeah, and it's a pretty hole. I think it's a really nice green hole. It sits at the bottom of the hill, and then there's a nice stand of pine trees behind it. I just think it's an attractive looking par 3. Usually take off about 15 yards, 10 to 15 yards on the approach. And it's one that typically, even if the greens are playing firm, like if you're hitting from an elevated tee, it's usually not going to run out too far. So usually take about 10 to 15 yards on, and you can go right at the pin on this one. It's one you could be aggressive on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to number 3.
Uphill, really uphill par 4. Not as much as some of the ones were at Le Sueur, but it's an uphill par 4. It's one, just obviously fairway is going to be key because if it's hard to hit the green if you're too far right or left in the trees. The farther up you can get it, the better. And so if you, for example, I think I hit my drive, it's about a 310-yard hole, but it plays uphill, so it plays longer. I hit mine to about 90 yards from the green, and I had to add about 10 yards on the approach. So since I was kind of towards the top of the hill, I still had a blind shot. I wasn't quite adding as much on. I still had to add 10 to 15. If you're lower in the fairway, say if you're 110 to 150, you're probably going to add 20 to 25 yards on your approach. And it's when you got to run up to the top of the hill and kind of take a peek to what's my line. And so it's a tricky hole in that, I wouldn't say it's that hard of a green to hit in regulation, but it's a hard one to get close because typically you're hitting to it's a blind shot to the pin, or you can maybe see just the top of the pin. Yeah. So, JT hit a great drive, and so he was afforded a full view of everything, but, there's not a lot going on in the green. A lot of the greens at Meadowbrook are sloped. The third one is not too slopey. So if you can get something close to the pin, it's usually not too hard of a putt.
Yeah. This hole reminded me, and there are a few holes that reminded me a lot of Theo Worth.
Yep. Yeah.
So this was one of them. Okay. We'll move on to number 4.
4 is a really fun, par 5 where a lot can happen. So it's one you can hit in 2. If you hit a good drive, you're going to have right around 225 to maybe even 200 from the green. So it's one you can try to hit in 2. So it's a downhill tee shot and an uphill second shot or a layup. If you have to miss air towards the right side of the fairway, they've taken out some trees in the right rough, and you can play a little easier from there than if you're in the left trees. Not that you can't, you can find an alley there sometimes. If you're laying up, again, you're going to have about 15 to 20 on your layup. But typically, if I get in the fairway, I just try to hit my second shot up as far as I can And the green is a sneaky slope back to front one. So it's one, if the pin is kind of middle to back, it's a little more sloped. The easier pins tend to be in the front of the green, but it's one where you can, you can make a double pretty easily. And that's one where you can, have a look at a 3 or for sure a 4 on it too.
Yeah. All right.
So,
All right. Then we get into the bell ringer hole, number 5.
yeah, 5. So it's a blind tee shot that you can't tee off until you hear the bell ring from the group in front of you, which I think is cool. The tee shot, you want to keep it towards the center to left center of the fairway. There's more room the way that the creek kind of runs through diagonally. So there's a bridge that crosses the creek that's on the right side of the fairway. And I think it's like, it's like 200 to 210 to the bridge to the right. But if you go far left, it's more like 235 or 240 to the creek. So if you can kind of favor the left side of the fairway, and it's tricky because it's downhill. So it's maybe 210 to the bridge, but you probably are playing a 180 shot, give or take. So you're taking 20 yards off your tee shot. It wasn't super firm today, but I've played it years where it's really firm down there, and then it's a real guessing game. So it's a hard tee shot. You can try to clear the creek. It's a really big poke to do it. So most people are going to lay up. And then you have like a mid to long iron, and it plays uphill to what I think might be the hardest green on the course, one of the top couple hardest greens. So I had 165 into the green, and I played it about 175, 180. I was still a little bit short. And then we all had tough putts. So it's one that you want to be right directly below the hole on most of the pins, which is easier said than done. Yeah. So a lot of us had putts with either downhill or sidewinding putts with a lot of right to left or left to right break. So it's a hole where if you can get on the green in regulation, that's great, or even just a little short, and chip on. But to me, it's one of the harder holes on the course.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And then we go to number 6, par 3, big green.
Yeah, big green, and it kind of goes left, right. So it's asking for a fade. So it fits my eye. Usually we'll take off about 5 to 10 yards on the approach. Again, it's one the way that the green kind of sits, it's pretty receptive to taking mid to long iron. So you can usually be kind of aggressive, and it typically won't hit on the green and bound over. And the only thing I really don't like about this hole is there's power lines along the left side that you can't do much about. So that's kind of an eyesore to me. But I like it if you there's a little rise in a bunker before the green, and you did a nice job on your shot. Like if you landed a little shy of the green but over the bunker, it'll kick it onto the green, which is kind of a newer thing that they've added, and that wasn't there in 1988. But it's kind of a cool feature too. So you can fly it there, or if you just get it to the top of that hill, it'll typically kick it on too. So, but par's a good score. It's usually plays like today it played 180. So it's typically playing 165 to 185. So it's a poke. It's a good hole.
All right. Moving on, number 7, another uphill, or blind. Second shot is blind.
Yeah,
Usually
you hit a bomb drive in the right rough, but you got to the top of the hill, which is hard. So you could kind of see, but you were in trees.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's a really hard fairway to get to the top of the hill. So most of the time, even with the good drive, it's going to come back down to rest in the bottom of the fairway where it's flat, or you're going to be on the hill and have an uphill lie. There's some trees behind the green, so it's a blind approach. There's a tall tree. There's the tallest tree. Aim at that. That's where the green is. And if you're a little short, that's okay. Short's better than long or left. So short is okay. And it's a reasonable up and down. The green is not super undulating, or there's not much of an incline to it. So it's a pretty flat green if you do hit it. You had a great par. If you're short, it's a really doable up and down. But yeah, if most of the time if you're hitting from the lower fairway, you're going to add a good 20 yards onto your approach.
Yeah.
To it. So it's a hard hole. It's a hard par
for sure. Yeah. And mine got some little burnt out on the right side there. So I think mine ran for a long time. So still that helped, but
yeah.
Okay. So on a course filled with blind shots, we come to number 8, where you can see the green right from the start, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. It's a fairly wide, generous fairway, and there used to be trees along the right back in the day, and those have all been either taken out because of disease or blown over in a storm. So it's really open to the right. So fairway, if you can hit it, obviously in any hole. But if you have to err to one side, err on the right, there's some junk on the left that you could hit into if you hook it. And then usually I add about 5 yards onto the approach. It's a really cool green. I think how it sits up. It sits up, I don't know, 8 or 10 feet from the level of the fairway. And I think it has some kind of cool rolls, and it's almost like a little bit of a potato chip kind of shaped green. But it's one, it's only about a 320-yard hole. So if you can get your drive in the fairway, it's one that you're oftentimes thinking you can get close on your second shot.
Okay. Then we go to number 9, was our finishing hole today, but so I think it would be a great finishing hole for if it was at 18, but it's number 9.
Yeah, it shares a ridge with the 18th fairway, and so it's one if it's a poke because it usually will play 435 to 455, 460. Sometimes it's into the wind. Today we had no wind, which was kind of nice. There's a big ridge that kind of bisects the fairway, that kind of runs through the middle of the fairway. If you can get it over that, you might get a little extra love on your end, but typically you're going to have a longer approach, around 200 yards. Air to the right or short. If you can't hit the green, it's a pretty doable up and down. There's a bunker short left. And if you short, you side yourself on that one. It's kind of deep and you can get some nasty lies. So, anything short or to the right's doable, but yeah, it takes 2 really good shots to hit this green, in 2, and it's another back to front green. So even if you're on the front, it's a hard 2-putt. It's a sneaky uphill putt, but par's a good score. To me, 9 is like a par 4.5. Yeah. It's one of those, if I get a 4 or 5, I'm happy.
Okay. All right. Let's make the turn. Like you said, on hole number 10, we were hitting right into the sun. 10 and 11, it was hard to really look at these holes and understand them because you're just trying to avoid blindness.
Yeah, the 10th hole. Yeah, if you tap early in the morning, you're into the sun. If you normally play it like you're not going to be into the sun on a normal day. It's a fairly generous landing area off the tee shot, and it's all second shot. And it's I think it's a neat green how it sits at the top of the hill, and especially the front half really is back. It really slopes off. So if it's a front pin, those are really difficult. I had 20 yards onto my approach, 15 to 20. Anything on the green and 2 is usually pretty good. If you're close, more of a bonus.
Yeah.
But if you have to miss, this is one where probably long is going to be a tough one because you're going to be probably chipping back downhill. So short's okay, and there's bunkers left and right, so those can be tougher up and downs too. But assuming you're driving the fairway, or even if it's in the right rough, it's a pretty doable approach. It's a tough green to hit. So on and 2 is good.
Okay. Number 11.
11 has turned into a really hard hole. When they redid the drainage, Meadowbrook was literally closed for a couple years back in the early 2000s, and we thought we'll never get to play it again. And they had a huge monsoon, horrible rain, and it was just basically like a lake. The course was a lake for a long time. 11's a hole that they redid. They enlarged this pond that's to the left, so that really plays on in your drive. It's only 350-yard hole, but you really have to hit the fairway because the tree to the left and the tree to the right are, I wouldn't say overgrown, but they've encroached in the fairway. So if you're dead center of the fairway, you don't have to worry about trees. But if you're even along the left or if you're in the right rough, you've got trees that you're navigating.
Yeah.
So that's made it a really hard approach. And then the green is crazy slope back to front. So I hit the left edge of the green now is pin high, and I had a birdie putt of 40 feet, but I had to play 10 feet of break left to right. So needless to say, I 3-putted that. So even if you can hit the green at 2, great, but you've got to position yourself on the green to 2-putt. So 11 has become a sneaky hard hole. Or one, in my mind, it used to just be kind of blasted out there with the driver. There wasn't really water to the left to worry about. And the trees weren't as big as they are now. So it's turned into a really exacting hole.
Yeah.
So good hole.
That tree protecting the green on the right got me today. So
yeah.
That was a tough one. Okay. On to number 12, where our guest Kevin Falness found a new way to play this hole.
Yeah. All the times that he's played it and I play it, we've never seen anybody go where he did. We're calling it Falness Alley. Yeah.
Which requires a huge pull to the left.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Think about a really bad pull and then add another 20 yards to it.
When you're on the 12 tee box, there's an electric box almost on the 11th tee, very far left. He hit it there, but he actually had a semi-clear shot to the green, which was pretty impressive.
It was.
Yeah. But 12's another uphill kind of Meadowbrook hole. The first 3 holes you're hitting elevated shots on your second shot. With your drive, try to get it up as far as you can. So either at the end of the flat area, or you and I were on the hill, but at least then I always feel like it's, even if I'm half up the hill, it's usually not a bad lie. And definitely take a peek, go to the top of the crest there if you're hitting a blind or semi-blind shot to see what you need to line it up with. There are some trees behind the green to the right that I think serve as a pretty good guide. Like when you and I were hitting from the left kind of rough on the hill, we just kind of hit a little bit left of that tree line, and it was an easy line. And then JP was right in the rough. And then he could actually use, I think, one of the trees to aim at. But the second shot's kind of another shot at Meadowbrook, especially if you've played it once or twice. It's not as hard as you think. That one up the hill, and then the green's kind of another back to front sloping green. So you might need, if you can, dial it, or if you're chipping, you can definitely try to be below the hole for when you're putting. But yeah, I think it's a fun hole.
Yeah. All right. 13 par 3. We had a birdie on this hole, with Mr. Falness snagging a 2, but will always be remembered for my 220-yard pitching wedge on my tee shot on a 135-yard hole.
Yeah, you want to tell the story? This was it. Well, not a lot of guys can do a 220-yard pitching.
Yeah, pushed my wedge right, high wedge to the right. Said, don't hit the cart path. Boom, hit the cart path. Huge hop, then hit a cart path behind the hole, and then went another 70 yards down a hill. So I had an 80+ yard shot back to the green. Had to get my laser out to shoot it. And I'll just remember as that ball was coming down, hit the cart path, and 3 of you off to the side go, oh! And then pause, and then oh! for the next bounce. And then just a lot of laughter after that from the 3 of you while I was sulking back to the cart. So yeah, I bet not many tour pros can say they hit their pitching wedge 200+ yards.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's typically not a good sign for if your second shot on a short par 3, you have to bring the rangefinder.
That's right.
But you made a bogey. It was actually a really good bogey. So it would have been kind of fun if it was like a match play situation and someone had been like, oh, I got this hole in the bag. And then like you 3-putt and then you make par from 80 yards over the green, or make bogey from 80 yards over the green.
Don't call me out.
That's
right. That in a match. Yeah, that another new way to play a hole.
Yeah, you try it every shot.
Yeah.
You. So 13. Yeah. I really like this par 3. I like the look of the green. It's kind of pushed up. And if you hit the miss is to not go over. So do not go over the green. A little short's okay. There's bunkers left and right. So you may be in a bunker, but if you go over the green, it drops off pretty quick. So it's a really hard up and down. And the green, another back to front slope. But I just like the look of it. It's kind of potato chippy. Yeah. And I always think it's a fun hole to play because you usually have I think the most I've had is an 8-iron if it was a windy day, but usually it's a wedge or sand wedge or maybe a 9. And I think it's a fun one to play. And typically somebody's going to hit a good shot and have a good chance at birdie.
Yeah. And it's the 18 handicap hole. So it should be an easy one.
Great birdie by Falness.
It should not have been as hard as I made it, but Falness made it look easy.
Yeah.
So, okay. Then on to 14, go to a par 5.
Yeah, par 5, it's a blind tee shot. So you're hitting off kind of the top of a hill and then it drops down. You can see the green in the distance, and there's a green that's, a kind of a greenish leaf tree that's to the right side of the green. That's a good line on to hit your tee ball on. There's water left. So if you hit your drive, I would say, 270 or more, and you pull it a little bit left, you're probably in water. There's a little room in the right rough, but it kind of starts to narrow kind of once you get to about like 280 yards between the water on the left and the junk on the right. So if you get your tee-ball into play, you've got a chance to get out in 2 or to get close to the green in 2. Yeah. So take your hack up there. If you have to miss the green, I think you try to miss it to the left. JP hit a 3-wood and pulled it. He was pinned high about left, but he had a really nice angle to chip back up the green. And he made birdie. He made a yellow birdie. Made a really nice putt there. The green kind of sneaky sloped, kind of, it's almost back to front, almost right to left. So there can be some tricky putts with break and that in there, but it's a hole I tend to see a lot of birdies on because usually with a decent drive you can be around the green in two. So I think it's a interesting hole, and once you kind of know the line, then the tee shot doesn't make you as nervous as other blind shots might.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Hole number 15.
Yeah, 15 is a hole that used to be harder. It's a hard hole right now. It's a gentle dogleg left. There's one tree that sits kind of right in your sight line, but it's towards the start of the fairway, so it's one you can hit over or around. In the old days, there used to be a number of trees that went along the left rough that were big, so you really couldn't cut it to the left. Now you can cut the corner. The more you want to bite off, great. But just, I think it's key to be in the fairway. If you're in the left rough, you can be blocked out by some of the trees that still are there closer to the green. So if you can be in the center to right center of the fairway, that'll make for an easier second shot. But typically a lot of guys are going to have a mid iron into that green, maybe even a long iron. And it's a hard green to hit, and it's kind of sneaky slope too. I love how the green's kind of benched into the bottom of this hill. So it gets kind of a cool little green site there, but 4 is a really good score at 15. So if you can get over that big tree, it's kind of ugly, but if you get over that ugly tree, that I wonder how much longer it'll be around, and you're in the fairway, you're going to have a mid to long iron in, and again, 4, even a 5 is not a bad score on that hole.
Okay.
15, good hole.
Okay. 16.
Yeah. 16, they've added a new tee since they kind of have tweaked the course. There's a right tee, which is easier. That used to be the old tee, and you can have a much better look right up the green. It's kind of a narrow green, and you have much more green to play with. Or it can be to the left, which most of the time now for the blue and black tees, that's where they have you playing, and it's a lot harder shot. So you've got the green shallower from that angle. So anything on the green, if you're from the right tee, I think you can be more aggressive. The left tee, I just think get it on the green. Middle of the green, and it's not super slopey like the back part of the green, but the front part can be kind of tricky, and you almost run out of room if there's a front pin.
Yeah.
So I played about the yardage, but again, kind of similar to 13. The miss long is hard, and then this one, if you yank it left, it can be a really hard up and down too. So yeah, just get it on the green on this one, but it's a one that if you're on the left tee, par is a good score.
Okay. Yeah. How about 17?
Yeah, 17, it's got the staircase. You get to walk to the top. It's old school. It's a blind tee shot, so you have to walk to the top of the staircase to see where the group in front of you is. And so this is one that plays a lot different. Now since they've kind of they added some ponds in to help with drainage, the fairway pinches in like at 235 yards on the left, and I think 245 on the right. So there's 4. So most people you're going to want to lay up because there's hardly any room to squeeze a driver in there. So you're going to probably want to hit something 220 yards off the tee, and then you're going to have like a mid iron in from there. A good line off the tee is there's 4 pine trees that are behind the green, and I just hit there's 2 of them in the middle. That's my goal. I just try to score a goal on those 2. So if I hit at those middle 2 pine trees, it's probably going to be in the fairway and in a pretty good spot. And I'll usually hit a 3-wood just so I don't go in the stuff right off the drive. Again, if you do, it's not a huge reward, and the fairway runs out, and there's rough between the first section of the fairway and the second. So it's not like you can typically run it up for most people. And then the green isn't super slope, but it's one, again, if you can hit it in regulation, you're pretty happy. If you miss short or right, it's not that bad of an up and down. If you miss left, it's a hard up and down. So,
all right.
That was my double today. I doubled it beautifully. If you don't hit the fairway, it's a hard hole.
Yeah. Okay. 18, straightaway par 5.
18, I normally don't like dead straight par 5s. I like 18. To me, the first move in this chess game is can you get it over the ridge? If you can really fly your driver far up the downwind and you can hit the backside of that ridge, you can get it's like a speed side. You can get some extra love like you did. You hit a really big drive up the right side, and it hit the backside of that ridge, and you got a lot of, an extra whatever yards. So you could actually take a hack at this green in 2.
Yeah.
Most of the time, most people are a little shy of that ridge. And you can see in your second shot, just get it up as far as you can. It's a pretty straight shot. There's no fairway bunkers. But being in the fairway is key. Sometimes if you're in the right rough, you can be blocked out. And then it's a fairly flat green. It sits at the bottom of the hill, and I think it's a fun finisher because you've got the hill to the right, and the clubhouse sits up on the right there, and you've got the 10 tee. So there's usually a little hustle and bustle, and the putting greens up there, so people are watching you come in. When Hulby had these Muni Opens at Meadowbrook, it was a great amphitheater. I mean, talk about pressure. You're hitting like a wedge into that green, with probably 50 guys on the hillside hooting and hollering, hoping for a skull or a chunk or a double or something bad to happen. So that was pressure, but it's a fun hole. I think because if you have two good shots, you've got a wedge in your hand and you're thinking birdie.
That's how you develop that ice water in your veins, right? Just thinking back to your days at Meadowbrook and shaking off the heckling.
I can remember we played Muni Opens there more than 2 times, but I can remember 2 times. And one time I can remember I had a 9-iron in and I hit it to like 8 feet, and it was like there was a parade. It was a lot of screams, and it was great. And then another time I can remember blading like a wedge, like way over the green, and like people were just all over me. Yeah. So like not nervous all around. Then you get to the 18th and like, oh geez,
yeah,
I got a headshot for these knuckleheads.
Well, that's what golf is, right?
That's right. Yep.
All right. Well, good job. Now people will feel a little more confident after getting your gimmies when they play Meadowbrook. So let's move on to our next segment. Let's get into some more details about the course. In the segment we love to call the range.
Ready to hit the range? Let's do it. That was good, but again, you gotta clear those hips. Yeah, got it. Thanks.
All right, Twig. Let's get right into it. Give me your favorite hole at Meadowbrook.
Gosh, right into it. I think my favorite hole is the 4th hole, the par 5. It's a downhill tee shot and then an uphill second. So it's one that I'm a short hitter, and I feel like in the back when I'm like, I think I can maybe get on this green in 2, or I can get it close. Or I'm really close. I've got a wedge and I'm thinking birdie. So I think I like elevated tee shots. I like the look of that. And then I like that it, has that green up on that hillside. That's a nice uphill approach. So I like the 4th hole.
Okay. I'm going to go with the 8th hole.
Nice.
I got up to that tee. Like we said, there's tons of blind shots. This one is a straightaway hole. You can see the green from the tee. It's a fairly easy hole, I would say, but that's not why I like it. I just thought it was a cool look from the tee. The setting of the green is nice with the hill in the background. I like the look of number 8, so I'm saying that's my favorite.
Yeah, you had good juju because you parred the 7th at a great par, and you're like, this course is kind of fun to play. Yet you were positive, and I think that positive, it rolled right into that. You had a nice par, another nice par in 8.
Yeah, exactly. Positivity is key, and you know me as a positive guy, right?
Yes.
So, okay, thank you. Okay, let's get into the signature hole. And I just think any hole where you got to ring a bell after you cross a bridge to let people know that you're over the creek is a good one. So I'm going to say that's unique to a course like Meadowbrook. So I'm going hole number 5. This is signature hole in Meadowbrook.
I like it. Gosh, I don't like getting out-ordered at a restaurant, and I feel like I got out-signatured.
Did I step on your...
No, you didn't. I can't. No, I'm going to go with what I wrote down. I had a hard time thinking of a signature hole here. I went with number 10, and the reason I did it because I feel like it encapsulates a lot of the things that you have at Meadowbrook. You have kind of a downhill tee shot, and then you have an uphill approach, and the green is back to front slope. I think it's a really handsome hole. I love the look of it. I like playing it. And I really like it when there's a front pin and you got to really worry about that front slope. So I just think it has a lot of the things about Meadowbrook. And it doesn't have a blind shot, which there's some blind shots, but I went with number 10. I had a hard time thinking of a signature hole there. Yeah, okay. I did. I like your bell answer though.
Okay. Yeah. You could have said the staircase, on 17 is a unique
I like that too.
feature in
Yeah.
Meadowbrook too. But
Yes.
but I've seen a couple courses. Des Moines comes to mind where you got to climb some steps too to get a look. So, all right. How about a birdie hole? Where would you find a birdie at Meadowbrook?
I put 14, the par 5. I think if you get your tee shot in play, even if it's not super far, you can get up close to the green, and it's a fairly straightforward pitch usually into that green. And I just tend to see a lot of birdies on that hole. And it's one that I've seen a lot of guys get on the green into or close to it. So I'm going with 14.
All right. I went with 18, and I think that's pretty rare to say you can find a birdie on 18. But at Meadowbrook, as long as you're hitting it straight, you should have a chance to get on or near the green into, similar to what you just said. It's another reachable par 5. Maybe it's tougher when you got 50 of your buddies heckling you.
Yes.
But I think in a normal case, without that, I think 18 is a birdieable hole.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right. Now we'll find the hole where you're happy with a bogey. I think there's a few here, but I put down 11. I feel like 11 is tough. It was hard hitting into the sun, not knowing.
Yeah.
Tough to see where you're going. But that second shot, my drive was decent. I thought I had a pretty good angle into the green, but that tree grabbed my ball out of the air and threw it back down the hill. And so again, I feel like I was coming at a regular spot. So I'm going to go 11. There's a couple of holes I would have picked, but 11 is at the top.
Yeah. I'm going with number 9.
Yeah, that's my other one.
It's a long par 4, and thank goodness it wasn't windy today. But I hit a good drive, and then I actually drive her off the deck, and I was pin high, and I was ecstatic. Like there's so many times I'm just 10 yards short, 20 yards short, and I'm hoping to get up and down. It's a hard green to hit into. It's a big boy hole, so I'm going with number 9.
Yeah.
A lot of scar tissue from over the years. A lot of 5s over the years.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. Number 9 was up there for me. So I agree with you. Okay. Par 3, your favorite on this course.
Gosh, I'm volley back and forth between number 2 and number 13, but I'm going with 13. I love the green. I love how it looks. It's potato chippy.
I've never heard you call so many greens potato chippies.
Yeah. I like the, another place that I played this summer, Belvedere in Michigan, had a lot of greens like that too. But I like the green in number 13 a lot. And I like that there's a penalty if you go over and the bunkers aren't easy. But I just think the way that the green sets there is super cool. So 13.
Okay. Well, I'll take your other one. I put down 2.
Nice.
That's a good par 3. Coming off a par 5, it's a nice downhill par 3, relatively easy, straightforward shot. Nice view from up top.
Yep.
Again, you're coming down. I didn't remember that about Meadowbrook, but most of the par 3s are these nice downhill shots, which is usually makes them a little bit more fun.
Yeah, two's it's a fun hole.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go to favorite par 4, and even though it's one of the toughest, I'm going to go with number 9 is my favorite. Other than I already said 8. 8 was my favorite. I always like to throw in a different one. I thought number 9 was it's a really challenging hole, but a really good for us, really good finishing hole. I really like number 9.
Okay.
Big boy hole, as you could say.
It's a big boy hole. Right now, again, this is interesting because like my answer would have been way different in 1892, but right now, my best par 4 there right now is number 11. I like you got to hit 2 great shots to get on that green, and then to 2-putt that green to almost any pin is, if you're outside of 10 feet, you're happy. So I'm going 11.
Man, I would have called that my least favorite hole.
Yeah.
So okay. All right, your favorite par 5.
Number 1. I think I think 14, there's not a ton going on in that. 18, I mean, I like all the par 5s, but I think that there's the most going on in number 1. And I like how it's, okay, gosh, I want to get to the top of that hill of my drive or over it. And And then if you do get over, so like for instance, today I hit a horrible drive, but then I had a good punch out, and that was, I don't know, 185 from the green or something. Then I had a side hill lie. So like, I'm just imagining, like, if I'm playing with my son Charlie or a big hitter, he would be over that crest of that hill, no problem. But then the second shot's no picnic because you got a really sloped hill. And then I think that green is hard to hit no matter where you're from. The second shot, there's intrigue if you're laying up. So I think there's just a lot going on. I like number one.
Okay.
How about you?
I also put number one.
Okay.
I think that's a good hole. Like the patio seating right outside the clubhouse, providing that little theater for people if they want to watch. There's a window from the inside the clubhouse that looks right out at the tee. But just like you said, downhill, then back uphill, you have to avoid the water on the right. I did not, but challenging but fair hole on number one. So a good opener.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's get into just a few more topics on the Meadowbrook golf course. The word that comes to mind, or words that come to mind, blind shots, a lot of blind shots, a lot of hills. It felt like a lot of holes reminded me of Theo Worth, which we played earlier, and that makes some sense because they're not too far geographically.
Yeah.
But as someone who's played this course so many times, what stands out to you about Meadowbrook, and what would you tell people who've never played it before?
I would tell them, try to play more than once if you can, because I think besides the first time it can catch people off guard with their blind shots or the uphill. I think there's 8 shots, so you're hitting definitely uphill at Meadowbrook, and then there's a lot of. I think it's a pretty course, but I think once you play it a time or two, it's not as hard as you think sometimes to navigate some of the uphill approaches and some of the semi-blind shots. Yeah, once you kind of get used to it, on nearly all of them, there's a tree behind the green, or there's a landmark, or there's somewhere, or there's more room down there than you think. There's more room to err on a couple tee shots than you think sometimes. So, yeah, and I think it's a little bit of a just a little more of a solid course than people would give it credit for. I think we've said the same thing about Theo Worth, too. I think it's worth a look, and it was only $47 to walk it this morning. It's a good walk because there's hills, but it's easy to walk too. So I think there's a ton of positive things, but I would say to people, be patient with the uphills and downhills and the blind shots, but once you play it once or twice, it's not as intimidating as you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right in the heart of St. Louis Park.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of, parts of the course are carved right out of, neighborhoods and business districts and everything. So you're right there. I can't imagine how many beers have been drank at Bunny's after a round of golf at Meadowbrook. It's right there. So super convenient, easy location. Falness, who's played this many times, our guest, commented we played in 4 hours, a little less than 4 hours. Yeah, like I've never played Meadowbrook in less than 4 hours. Granted, we had a very early morning tee time, but I thought the pace was great.
Yeah.
Conditions the greens were in phenomenal condition.
Yeah.
Like really good, I thought, for a course that probably gets tons of play all summer long. And we're nearing the end of summer, and it was in pretty good condition, I thought.
Yeah, greens were fantastic. That's one thing that the last 10 to 15 years, they've really upped the quality of the greens, and the tee boxes were good. I thought the majority of the fairways were all really good too. You're not going to have as tight of a lie as you do, I'd say, like if you go to Stone Ridge or if you go to the Wild, like they knit their fairways pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's a little longer than that. I kind of I feel like the ball's sitting up more, and I feel like it's easier sometimes to make contact. The greens were, like I said, they were receptive, and they were kind of medium speed, which is probably what they should be, right? With some of that slope. I mean, you've got most of the people there probably are, in most courses, you're not going to, you don't have scratch golfers there, and you don't need it on a 12 on a stimp meter. So I thought they're really playable, and I think it's a course that the location, I think, makes it so accessible for a ton of people. And the last couple of times I've been there, hasn't been a death march, hasn't been too bad of a pace. No, it's some of that just depends. You can hit it at the wrong time, I suppose.
Sure.
Like any other course.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it is a course that let's go play one round in the afternoon and then let's go to Bunny's.
Yeah.
Have beers with your buddies.
For sure.
That's what kind of course is. It's not really a golf trip course. I don't think anyone expects it to be.
No.
And I wouldn't say it's a play 36 holes today. It's let's get a round in, let's get these three guys in nearby, and let's go get some beers afterwards.
Yep.
That's the kind of course Meadowbrook is. It's perfect for that.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about this too. Like you can't, I mean, very few people can be like, oh, I'm just only going to play $150 courses. Like you need, like you can play this course 3 times and it will still be less than it would be for Stone Ridge or Meadows at Mystic, which are great courses too. There's something to be said for that, right? Like I can go up there and, the last few years I've been there, they've had a really good food truck where you could get beers and sandwiches, and it wasn't there today. So I don't know if it's just, if it wasn't there, if they're not doing it. So you can get beverages in the clubhouse, but I liked having that food truck. So I'm hoping it was just an anomaly. So I'm hoping they can get that back. But, I think, gosh, more than half the times I've played it, say take the last 10 times I've played it, we've gone to Bunnies after.
Yeah.
It's just super easy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There was no beverage cart today. Again, early morning round. I don't know if that's the case all day long. They send a beverage cart out later, but if you're looking for someone giving you drinks out on the course, we did not see that today.
Yes, we can't comment on that, but yeah, really fun round in Meadowbrook as usual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Round, I don't know. I mean, I'm in the hundreds now, so I don't know. I bet I've played at least 100 times. So
Good memories for you at that course. Hopefully another great memory created today.
oh yeah,
with JP, myself, and our special guest Kevin Falness. Like we said, he's played this course so many times over his life. He is the pride of St. Louis Park. I don't know if anyone loves St. Louis Park as much as Kevin Falness does. But Kevin and I go back a long ways to the early years of our time at the Minnesota Wild, and he's been there ever since. He's been a part of every Minnesota Wild team they've ever had. He honestly has interacted with every single player that's worn a Wild jersey, because his job is to interview players at the beginning of the season, interview players when they get called up. So every player that's come and put on a Wild jersey at least once, Kevin Falness has talked to, and there's probably not many people that can say that.
that's pretty incredible. Yeah.
So let's get to our Emergency 9 segment with our guest today, Kevin Falness.
Hey, hon, how are you? Oh, that's awesome. Hey, listen, we still have 9 holes to go here today. It is really backed up out here. I'm sorry. I love you. Thanks again. Okay, love you. Bye. We're good.
Welcome to the Emergency 9 segment from Meadowbrook outside the cart barn here. And we're excited to be joined by Kevin Falness from the Minnesota Wild Radio Network.
Excited,
Thrilled.
he says.
Thrilled is the better term. Kevin and I have known each other for years. Kevin is one of the OGs of the Minnesota Wild front office. He's been there since year 1. And, I got to know you in year 2 and just best buddies ever since.
It's been a magical ride. Our relationship just continues to blossom. It has been fantastic. Can we get ground rules? Is this Rogan like? Can I go G rated? Is it PG, X? We won't go X.
Please don't go X, but
We'll keep it G. I don't even have to swear.
No, you can if you like. We're all
No,
friends
I'm
here.
beyond that.
PG-ish.
And we saw you on the course, so don't act like you don't swear.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard it all too, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know him, you love him from the Minnesota Wild Radio Network. And Kevin, we're excited that we got to play a course that's near and dear to your heart today in Meadowbrook.
Yeah, I'm a St. Louis Park boy. Since I moved back to Minnesota, I've had probably 5 houses all within about 10 miles, and they've all been in St. Louis Park. And I'm currently in a place a block and a half from where I grew up. My folks are still in that house. My kids can walk down to see grandma and grandpa, so it's awesome. I love St. Louis Park. I was telling you, right off the 3rd hole, I think it is, Methodist Hospital. All 3 of my kids were born there. I spent many nights at Bunny's, Park Tavern, JJ's down the hall. So I know all about St. Louis Park.
An Oriole through and through. All right. Well, let's get into our 9 questions. We'll start off on a more serious topic.
but you are an advocate for finding a cure for something called Usher's syndrome, something that affects you and your family. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then how people can support this cause?
Yeah, I got goosebumps thinking about it. And I literally do. It's weird. We just found out about it just about a year and change ago. That my 14-year-old has come down with. He was diagnosed with Usher's syndrome, and we knew that he had a hearing problem. He's had hearing aids since he was 6 months old. And the other part of that they keep an eye out for is the it's, it, I don't know the specific terms, but it's a degenerative eye disease that catches up to you. And basically, what it means is it's the second part. The hearing loss is one thing, and then the eyesight is the other. So at some point, his eyesight is going to go down to like he's looking through drinking straws, they said. So it's something we definitely want to get a cure for. We're walking. There's a walk on September 19th, Harriet Band Shell. We're all going to meet up there. The hope is to drum up support to awareness more than anything. If you can go and be there and walk, we'd love to have you. We had about 100 people out there last year, including the entire St. Louis Park hockey team. And it was fantastic. And our hope is to raise money and hopefully find a cure. He's 14 years old. He is starting to ask questions. We're questioning if he's going to play hockey because the peripheral vision is starting to go. The night vision has definitely been an issue, but he's a strong, awesome, happy kid. We know that he's resilient. He'll get through it, whatever it is, whatever happens. But the hope is to get a cure for it so we can, continue living a normal, healthy life.
All right, where can people go if they want to learn about the walk and or donate?
The easiest way for me to tell you is go to @RadioFalness on Twitter. Look me up on Facebook. Look me up on Instagram. I've got the link to all the information for the Vision Walk right there on my front page. So if you go to @RadioFalness on Twitter or look up Kevin Falness on Instagram or Facebook, that information will be there. So the more the merrier. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to help in any way we can too. But let's go on to some more fun topics.
Please.
Let's go with golf to start. Tell us
Okay.
your golf story. How'd you get into the game? I know it's been a passion of yours for a long time.
Yeah, my dad's got 7 brothers and sisters, and all the brothers play golf. So it's an extended family, and my cousins, we've all grown up playing all across the state. I grew up in St. Louis Park, so a lot of golf here. But in Mound, I got cousins and relatives out there. Up north, we'd go all the time up by the Mille Lacs region. So and then all my buddies grew up playing golf. That's what I try to tell my sons. A couple of them don't want to take it up. I'm saying, I promise you, I know you're 12 years old right now and you know everything, but if you learn to play golf, it's something you will take with you the rest of your life, like swimming, like skating, learn to golf. And so they're starting to gradually pick it up. And that's my story as well. I'm so glad I picked it up when I did. I'm not good at it. I'm nowhere near a professional like you guys, Twig and Glen and Andreessen. I mean, holy smokes. But I have fun with it. And we go out with my buddies, and it's something that I grew up doing for the last 78 years of my life. So it's amazing. It's so much fun.
I think you're selling yourself short. You got hands like a watchmaker out there.
Certainly.
So, well, you've played a lot of golf, a lot of courses. I know you stuck around St. Louis Park, but what about beyond? Well, you can stick in St. Louis Park.
Yeah.
If you want. I want to know your favorite course to play in Minnesota or Wisconsin.
Yeah, St. Louis Park, to keep it local, I grew up on Meadowbrook, Brookview, Theater Worth. Outside of these boundaries, I would have to say Burl Oaks is one that I grew up playing a lot, and I don't think it exists anymore. They're redoing that course out there in the Mound area. My buddies and I played a lot of golf out there. One buddy was a member out there. We'd go out there. He'd gouge us for the payments that we'd pay him back. We figured we put his kid through college. But we played a lot of golf at Burl Oaks, and the other one I played a lot at is Fiddlesticks up by Mille Lacs. My cousin had a cabin up there, and especially in our 20s and 30s, man. And once my wife moved here in 2004, there was 4 of us, 5, maybe even 6 of us. My uncle and a couple of cousins and their wives. We'd go up there and we'd play a lot of golf. We play a lot of cards. We play a lot of bad golf, but those are probably they're not the sexiest of golf courses, but you're asking me my favorites: Fiddlesticks, Burl, and anything in St. Louis Park.
Well, it's funny you say that because I think of all the guests we've done, very few of them have named like a top 10 rated course in Golf Digest magazine.
Yeah.
It's usually that course that means something to them
Yeah.
that they grew up playing with their buddies or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what it is for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. But let's say you get the chance to play Pebble Beach or Augusta. You get to pick 3 people, alive or dead, to play with you. Who do you go with?
I mean, I would go 2 different routes there. If I could pick people that mean a lot to me. I'd love to play again with. My dad doesn't golf anymore. He's 85 years old. Played a lot of golf with him growing up. I'd love to play with him and my uncles. But then if I want to go famous, I mean, who's not going to pick Tiger Woods? I'd love to play around with. I could go any route. Neil Diamond would be fun. I don't know, just something really out of this world, weird. But I think that'd be pretty cool. But for me, it would mean more to have a relative, like to play golf again with my uncles that I grew up with. Man, that'd mean a lot. I just lost a buddy that we played a lot with at Burrow. He just passed away. Went through a long battle, passed away, gave me his golf clubs, and I haven't picked him up yet. I mean, it's just happened. I'd love to play another round with him. I mean, these are famous people would be awesome, but I think it'd be more fun to go back in time and play my relatives. To be honest,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and go into your wild career. You have been around every single team and up close and personal with all of them. I want to ask you the opposite of this question, but I'm going to ask you the politically correct one because I don't think you want to out anyone. Instead of asking you who the worst player to deal with was, which I'm sure
I bet you could guess.
Actually,
I won't name names,
I could,
but I could guess.
I want to know who your favorite player you ever dealt with was, the best guy for you.
It's hard to name names, but I mean, if we're going old school, Pierre-Marc Bouchard, Brian Ralston, I go down the list. Jamie McLennan was awesome. One of the first goaltenders in Wild history. Uh, just a funny guy. But I would put at the top of my list, and it's going to make Wes Walls mad, Darby Hendrickson mad, uh, probably Ryan Carter mad. But honestly, Dwayne Rollison was one of the best dudes I ever dealt with. He was so much fun and still keeping contact with. I had him on the radio in the last 12 months. Fantastic personality, great dude. His wife's got the same first name as my wife, so that's also a common bond. But a good. But I mean, there's so many, way too many to name. The other list is much smaller, but it's very succinct. And that too, guys. Remember, another guy I'd like to mention is Sergei Zholtak. I thought was just awesome to deal with.
He was unreal.
Very cerebral, just an awesome, fun dude to talk to, but loved his Latvian hockey and just loved to talk puck and loved his family, too. So those are.
He was a guy when he came into the Wild. I don't think anyone thought much of him, and maybe even had a reputation that not this great guy, but he was unbelievable to talk to. So thoughtful. Like
a great
any
quote.
Question you ask, he would just think about it and give you a really well thought out.
Great quote. A good player. Like you said, I think it was on the trash heap when he ended up here in Minnesota in the early years. But I thought was a great ambassador for this team and certainly for Latvian hockey. I remember we used to do these things called Hockey Unplugged, where we go to these different bars, and he was there with his son. And the Latvian team, I don't know what time of year this was, they were playing and it was on TV, and it was impossible to keep his attention. You're trying to fire questions at him, and he's watching the TV the whole time with the Latvian team. But God bless him. Definitely a person that's missed, and one of many personalities that have come through this Wild locker room.
Yeah. Well, and this again, I like this topic, so I'm going to keep on it. But you, it's not disrespecting the guys from the more recent years, but I think those early years of the Wild and the personalities that made up those teams were just seemed like a different world compared to today, right?
I think it's also put it into perspective. I'm in my 50s now. When we started, let's rewind 30 years ago. I was more in their age rate. Now I'm like, I'm super old compared to these guys. And not only that, I think a wedge was driven in there via COVID, where there's been some separation that has never fully been made up. And the fact that everything used to be at XL Energy Center. Now you've got this area at Grand Casino Arena, this area at Tria Rink, where there's a little bit of separation as well. So you don't get in behind the scenes. So there isn't that close bond that used to be there 10, 20, 30 years ago. And that's, again, nothing. I just don't feel the same connection with the guys of this age compared to them. There were different bonds that were formed in those days. That said, there's still some really good dudes that have come through that locker room. Foligno, Spurgeon come to the top of my list. Middleton, who just recently departed. Matt Zuccarello, fantastic personality. There's some good dudes that have walked through this locker room, and it's not the same as it used to be, but that's probably because I'm super old.
The old men barking at the clouds.
Big time.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about one more guy that I always admired you for having a really cool connection with, and that was head coach Jacques Lemaire. who was a great guy, or is a great guy, a great person,
Very much.
but very kind of had this mystique about him, and you seem to not care about that mystique and formed a really cool friendship with him.
I most definitely cared about the mystique, and I definitely respected it. You think about what this guy has done. I mean, he's got multi Stanley Cup rings. What he did as a player, and I don't think people have a firm grasp on what that was because a lot of us weren't alive when he was in his heyday. But you think of what he accomplished in the Montreal Canadiens system as a player, and then what he did, with the New Jersey Devils, and here in Minnesota to make them. It wasn't the same as the Vegas Golden Knights or the Seattle Kraken. They weren't afforded those. That first, I think it was $83 million was their payroll back in the day, and you're doing it with God love you, Wes Walls and Brad Bombardier and Jim Dowd, Stacy Roost. I mean, some of the names that they got by with. He formed a team there, and I do have an immense amount of respect for Jacques Lemaire. I think our bond formed in the fact that he was super close with Tom Reed and Bob Kurtz. So I think I think I just kind of glommed onto that. But we have had a phenomenal relationship ever since he left. I probably try to talk to him on the radio at least once a year. But one of the coolest moments, there's been highlights in Wild history for me personally. One of them was the Stadium Series alumni game, getting to call that at TCF Bank Stadium at the time. But having the inaugural coaches come back last year at the start of the season to celebrate 25 years of Wild hockey, not only Jacques, but Mario Tremblay, Mike Ramsey, Doug Risebrow, and be able to talk to them and see them in person. Bob Mason, phenomenal. And Jacques Lemaire, I mean, till the end of my days, will be one of the best guys in the history of this franchise. When you're making up the Mount Rushmore for the Wild hockey, it's got to be number one. I know Bob Mason, Matt Egan, so many credit, but Jacques Lemaire's number one with the goal.
Okay. And I always like to tell this Jacques Lemaire story. I traveled with the team for a while.
Yep.
I was in Detroit when the team was kind of middling a little bit. And I remember watching a practice in Detroit, and the team won. After the practice, I ended up walking out near Jacques Lemaire, and he said, "Well, how did we look today?" And I said, "Well, in that 5-on-0 drill, we looked really good." He goes, 5-on-0, we are very good. So Jacques, he had a great wit.
I mean, he's obviously a sharp hacking mind. There's no question about that. But what made him so great is he would talk for 45 minutes after every practice, and the best stuff that he did had nothing to do with that practice or the upcoming game or recapping what just happened. It's just talking. He had some of the greatest lines ever. And if you ever want to just take a minute, YouTube, Google, whatever, Jacques Lemaire and his press conference. Someone put together, I don't even know who it was, like 20 minutes of the best of Jacques Lemaire in his press conferences before or after games. Phenomenal listening. It brings back great memories. I still have people come up to me and talk about listening to the post-game shows on the radio because we would carry Jacques Lemaire. It had nothing to do with me. I'm just pitching to Jacques Lemaire, recapping the game, and they were must-listen-to radio. He was so good, so fun.
He was unbelievable. So, maybe you've already answered this in your answers that you've given me, but what is your favorite part of your job?
Summer, best part about my job, I probably, everybody says that, in being able to look at Black Birds and Time for so many years and out of town and Joel about it. That's the best part. I've had some great bosses going back to the years of Bill Robertson, even bigger than that, Todd Leiweke, another guy that's probably on my personal Mount Rushmore for Minnesota Wild hockey. One of the best bosses ever. Just creative, fun, awesome personality. Todd Leiweke was a full package, and that's why he's been so successful everywhere he goes. But the best part of my job is just dealing with great people for almost 25 to almost 30 years. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, you've been doing it a long time. That means you've been successful at it. And so I want to ask you our last question. We like to find out from people. What's your key to success, or a motto you live by, or something that you try to adhere to for your career and in your life?
Yeah, for me, it's the same thing I tell my kids: be a good person. You said I can be off color a little bit. Don't be a dickhead. If I can say that, that's what it boils down to. I mean, in anything in life. I mean, certainly growing up, I was kind of a douchebag. I wasn't going to St. Louis Park High School. I'm a different person now than I was then, and I think that's a good lesson to learn. I try to tell my kids that pass it forward. And I like to think that they are. I don't know how they are when I'm not around them, but I like to think that they're good people. That's what I try to be, a good person to other people that are around me. And I think that's the biggest thing. And never burn a bridge. If you can do anything in your life, don't burn a bridge, because especially in radio, I'll come back to high.
All right, that's usually my last question, but I thought of another question I wanted to ask. You say you're kind of a douchebag and dickhead sometimes. I don't.
Sometimes.
I don't believe it. But you were a prankster. Maybe you still are. You were an office prankster back in the day. I'm wondering if you can tell us your best prank that you pulled on someone at the Minnesota Wild.
At the Wild offices, there was always phone pranks. For whatever reason, because I had a phone bank, I could dial one number and then dial another number. And the best one that I ever got, like I got Roger Godin constantly, the former team curator for the Minnesota Wild, maybe even the current team curator. I would get him all the time. He'd, hello, this is Roger. Roger, whatever I would say, and he'd do his little Roger thing. It would be fantastic. Best one that I ever got though was Brad Bombardier, and I think it was Mustafa. Was that his name?
Yes.
Mustafa, accounting guy, finance. So they actually, for whatever reason, shared a cubicle on the third floor in 317. I dial Bombardier, I dial Mustafa. They both answer the phone. Hello, hello. This is Brad. Can I help you? Yeah, this is Mustafa. What do you want? You called me? No, you called me. It's so stupid, but that always made me laugh. The other good one I got outside of the Wild, and I was just thinking about this the other day. I gave a fake lottery ticket to a buddy, and it was for like Christmas or something. He was hosting cards, and I just left it there, and he scratched. He called me back. He goes, "You would not believe it. I hit $5,000 on that lottery ticket you left me." I said, "No way." He goes, "Yeah," and his wife gets on the phone. "Oh my God, I can't believe you did this." I said, "Well, how do you even collect that?" And they said, I got to look over on the back. It says you got to go to the North Pole and talk to Santa. God damn it. And I just completely, they had that money spent so many different ways. I just threw that back at his face. It probably happened 20 years ago, but super funny.
Well, yeah, I still have vivid memories of sitting down at my cubicle, trying to work my computer, and the ball from the mouse was missing. Would be sitting on the keyboard or something like that. So we always knew who was behind that. So, well, Kevin, a lot of great memories with you. I'd like to think we created some more memories out on Meadowbrook today.
I think so. I found some new paths out here that I've playing this for 40 years. Some new tricks to try next time I'm out here. But
we'll absolutely be talking about that on Twig's Gimmies. But appreciate you joining us today. I'm glad we could make it work. Go Orioles.
Go Orioles. Go St. Louis Park.
Yeah.
Go Benny.
Thanks, Kevin. Go Benny. Yeah, thanks.
All right, Kevin.
All right,
good
dude.
job.
Good
Thanks,
stuff.
man.
All right. Special thanks to Kevin. Great day at Meadowbrook Golf Course. I think I can't remember if I've already said this. I have played Meadowbrook once 5-6 years ago with you. And today I remembered there's very few times where I'm like, I remember this. And so it was almost like playing a new course again, but I really enjoy it. Some very nice holes, fair holes, up and down. I think that adds some excitement to a round. So I got high marks for Meadowbrook.
Yeah, I think both of our city courses, the Teddy Worth, Theodore Worth, and Meadowbrook are worth a look. And I again, I'm biased because we played there a ton in high school and college, but it's a course that I always love returning to, and I'm just tickled that, I mean, the greens used to back in the day were not good, right? And the conditioning wasn't great, but we still loved it. And we loved it despite all that. Now the greens are great, and the tee boxes are good. And I think the fairways are decent too. So I think it's underrated conditioning wise. Most people like to have nice greens. And it's a fun course, is pretty, and there's no houses. There's houses around the outside, but there really aren't houses on the course. Yeah, which I like too. So you're not playing through neighborhoods.
Right.
Yeah. Fun day.
Yeah. Again, like Theo Worth, it doesn't have the a clubhouse that appeared in the Mighty Ducks. No, Theo Worth, but course-wise, a lot of it reminded me of Theo Worth. The views, the blind shots, the undulations, the trees were very similar. So a good experience. I'm glad we got Meadowbrook in our first season here.
Yeah, and I was really glad that of course JP responded to my text. Can you play within 8 seconds? I'm in. But I was glad I mean, we allow our guests the opportunity to bring somebody with them if they want. And Kevin said, no, I'm just gonna be me. And I was like I was so excited to text JP because we've played a lot of rounds there and he likes it too. And so it's fun meeting him. And Falness he's got really good hands. Like I like golf with him because I like all of our guests been pretty easygoing and easy to golf with. We're not going to invite someone that's not, I guess, but he's fun to golf with, but he hits some really good shots. He squares up the club face every time, and around the greens, he's really good. Yeah. Really good chipper. But he's fun to play with.
He is a great guy. One of the funniest people I know. He's got an acidic wit to him. If you try and challenge him, he will come back at you 10 times harder. So you should be nice to him. Should be nice to everybody.
Don't poke the bear.
No, don't poke the bear. But want to make sure before we go, Kevin mentioned it in his answer, but follow him at Radio Falness and to learn more about Usher's syndrome and how you can help. His son Benny is dealing with Usher's syndrome. Will eventually lose his eyesight, and so we want to help them find a cure and support their family and Benny for sure. So please follow him if you'd like to support them by walking in their event on September 19th or by contributing monetarily. We would love to see that. So anything else you got, Twig?
No. Great guest, great course, great marker in JP. Just another phone, and I like as we're kind of getting into this is our 10th course, I think, our 11th episode. But I think we've got a nice mix of courses that we're hitting. We've got more fun ones on the horizon, but I like that we've got a nice mix of courses, some in the metro, some out, some in the city of Minneapolis. And it's, I don't know, I'm having a blast doing this.
We do have a good mix. And for those of you wondering, are we ever going to get into Wisconsin? Are we going northern Minnesota, southern Minnesota? There's a lot of courses on our list we want to get to. And it'll take some time, but I can't wait to play some of them. There's still some really high listed courses that we haven't gotten to that I'm excited to play and review with you. So until our next episode, we want to remind you to maintain a stable spine axis. And until and after that, your drives will be things of beauty. Appreciate you coming by, everybody. Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Welcome to the Golf Loons podcast, where the round doesn't end on the 18th green.
Where'd we play?